Hey guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I'm your host, Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you, buddy?
Hey man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast to give you the boots on the ground experience and knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on YouTube channel, Spotify, Facebook, wherever you catch your podcast, you can listen to it there. Show sponsors are listed on your screen below. We wouldn't be able to do this show without their support. We've got Triumph Construction, Local Title, Cortland Financial, CrestCore Property Management, and we've got Will Griffin with Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer. Please like and support those guys as they allow us to do our job here. I help buyers and sellers every day in Memphis. Dean at CrestCore.com. If you have any questions, shoot me an email there. I can get you valuations, get you set up with our buyer program. I've got a team of agents that can help us now. We've got 2 good agents on our team now that we can assist you with and get you connected with, and they can help you. So guess what today is?
Yeah.
Zip code breakdown. We do this once a year. We're going to break down all of our investment zip codes. I looked back at it the other day. This is our 7th zip code breakdown.
7th annual.
7th time that we have done this zip code breakdown. There's only 4, I think, that have been logged on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
So there's 3 that are old. I could maybe go back and find them.
Radio
But this is our
show.
7th. Yeah, when it was live on the radio. So this is the most information we give. This is facts that we get and data that we get from ChandlerReports.com. You've got some property management details that we get from CrestCore Property Management. So let's dive right into this. We're going to go kind of geographically. And this, as you know, we break this podcast up into individual zip code breakdowns as well. You can listen to this entire podcast here. We're going to run through every one of them. It usually takes us about 90 minutes. So we're going to go through them and get through all of the zip codes. After this podcast, you can email me, Dean at CrestCore.com, and I'll break down or send you just separate podcast if you'd like to. So drum roll. Here we go. All right. We're going to start off northwest part of Shelby County in 38127. This is Frayser. And here's how I'm going to break this down. We're going to talk about July of 2023 sales versus July of 2024 sales. And I'm going to give you the differerences and the percentage differences, whether it's up or down in each one of those. Okay. You ready? So in 2023, we had 63 total sales, 1,213 square feet, and the average sales price in 2023 was $89,195. Okay. In 2024, we've got 95 total sales, 1,249 average square feet, and 97,196. So we are up almost, 33%.
50%.
Yeah, 50% actually from 2023. So Frayser is one of our more popular investment zip codes.
Yeah.
We had 95 sales in 2024 last month. So that's a lot.
Yep.
That's a lot of activity. I personally own several in 38127. I believe you do as well.
Active for many years.
The only rule of thumb that I have for 38127 is that I do not buy anything or send anything out to my clients that is west of Highway 51.
Okay.
There's a highway that runs right up there, and anything west of there has just been a challenge.
Okay.
I'm not telling you that you can't do anything and have any success whatsoever up there, but it has been a challenge. You get closer to the river, there's no jobs, no commerce. It just gets a little bit, I guess, unpopulated, and which leads to not quite as good of a rental property. Give me some rental figures and some property management figures.
Yeah, I mean, I always say there's 40,000 people in that zip code making about $35,000.
Okay.
So if you do our simple math of saying, if you take that annual income, divide by 12, so get a monthly income, and then you get about a third of that you allocate towards rent.
Yep.
That's a $1,000 rental, $950.
And that's about what they rent for.
Yeah. There are 13,000 parcels over there. Average year built in 1963.
Which makes sense. Wasn't it one of the first kind of suburbs of the city?
It was down north, just north of downtown. There was a lot of manufacturing up there, Harvester and International, and they're 1,300 square foot buildings. So if you look at that,
that's about right.
A 3-1 built 1963, about 1,300 square foot. So you look at that Madewell example, I'm like, yeah, that pretty much looks like a typical 3-1.
That's a
1,300 square foot house up in Frayser, built in the 60s.
3447 Madewell is the example that we're looking at here. Nice brick home. It looks exactly like kind of the homes that I own up in Frayser.
Just what you'd expect.
Looks great. So that's 38127. Very popular. I encourage you, if you find deals in 38127 east of Highway 51, I'm big on those. So in property management, it's easier to find tenants. I mean, you've got a good tenant base there.
Yeah, manage dozens and dozens, hundreds up there. So
Yeah.
Cortland does loans up there. So everybody's active in that market.
Nike has a huge plant, and Amazon has a huge
Yep.
distribution plant right there at
New Allen.
New Allen Road, right there. Just drove by
Frayser
yesterday.
Boulevard, right on, kind of on the, I guess that would be the east side of Frayser on the west side of Raleigh.
Yeah, absolutely, which is right where we're at. Speaking of Raleigh, we're going to bump right into 38128. So we're going to go geographically, we're just going to go a little east of 38127.
Mm-hmm.
You can see there on our map. Let's hit Raleigh real quick. All right, here we go. In 2023, we had 32 sales. I had an average square foot of 1537 and an average sales price in July of 2023 of 139,822. 2024, we have more than doubled our sales.
Mm-hmm.
A little lower square foot, right at under 1,400, and we're at 135,210. So prices came down a little bit in Raleigh. It sounds like we had more opportunities in Raleigh than we did in July of 2023. Especially if the square foot's down and the price is down a little bit, our demand, simple economics tells you that there's a little bit more opportunity than there was in 2023.
Yeah, and dollar per square foot. I'm not looking at it. It's probably a little bit better. Because that's essentially the same price. But over in Raleigh, which we talked about as you move, there's the Nike Amazon plant on the west side of Raleigh, but that's 45,000 people.
Yep.
Making about $40,000 household income median. And that's, again, do your math. That's about $1,100 on the rental. So a little more. You're getting a little bigger house built in, a little newer, built in 1973 and 1,550 square feet, 1.5.
Yeah.
So if you look at Kerwin, probably at 1.5.
That's right.
1,500 square feet.
Yeah.
It's about what the sales price.
That's an example of a brick home. That home obviously needs a roof, but that 4135 Kerwin is a perfect example of what I have in Raleigh. I've also got a decent footprint in Raleigh. Those are Raleigh Springs Mall used to be kind of the center hub of it. I used to grew up
Austin P
right over there. It's now a big government facility, so they have some jobs there. But one thing I like to point out, and you're going to hear me maybe say this, and some people think it's kind of corny, but the research that these companies do is undeniable.
Yeah.
But there's a Chick-fil-A and a Starbucks that they just built at Austin P and Yale.
Yep.
Which is in the heart of 38128.
Yes.
That's right. They do not put restaurants and their little coffee joints there if they don't know the foot traffic is not going to be there for years, and even the growth. Yeah. So I know that's a little, maybe the not non-traditional way of doing your research of where you want to be. But there's no sense in doing it twice. If Chick-fil-A's done it and Starbucks has done it, when I say just built, last 6 months, I don't mean last few years. Last 6 months, they just developed that right across from that big government facility there.
I know exactly where that's. Driven by that up tons. And if you want to cater to people who are buying Starbucks and eating at Chick-fil-A, if that's the tenants you want, this is the type of area you want to be in.
That's exactly right. So, if you can. That's the kind of tenant. It's a little bit more expensive meal, a little, a luxury item is, buying a coffee in the morning. They must think that market is there to do that.
So we'll support it.
That's exactly right. So I'm really big on Raleigh, one of my favorite zip codes to invest in. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to hit Bartlett. There are 3 zip codes in Bartlett. The first one that we are going to hit is 38133. Really love Bartlett. In 2023, we had 16 sales, 1,892 square feet, 289,000 was our average price. And then in 2024, we had 24 sales, 1,820 square feet, and then 300,000, 587 was our average sales price. The picture you can see here is a big, nice house. This is a little bit more of a residential homeowner, owner-occupant type of neighborhood. Very tough to find those rental numbers.
Yeah, because you got 20,000 people living out in 38133 making $75,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So that rent is going to be over $2,000, a little over $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So there's 7,000 parcels out there built in 91.
Yeah, makes sense.
2,000 square feet, 3 twos. So that's kind of exactly what you're looking at.
Perfect residential area. School system is their own entity. Bartlett Schools.
Municipality.
Yeah, it's pretty attractive and desirable. So 38133, great area. If we can find something that makes sense for a rental, obviously we go for it. But I don't. That's an area where we're not going to see a lot of activity. All right, 38134 Bartlett. In 2023, we had 33 sales, 1,696 square feet with an average sales price of $233,379. And then in 2024, we had 39 sales, a little larger square feet, 1,800, and then 228,000. To me, those are about the same kinds of numbers, a few more sales than we had last year. None of this surprises me. But you've got huge Freeman Park is in 38134. It's very attractive for a lot of families. Again, good schools. I lived on Tickle Drive, which I thought was a funny name, but I lived on Tickle Drive for years as a kid. So I'm very familiar with this 38134 area, but you're around everything, shopping, all kinds of commerce and things. You're going to find some investment deals in 38134.
Yes.
I have a couple. You will be able to find some rentals. This single family house that we're looking at here is pretty typical of what you find in Bartlett. What about some rental
because
figures?
I was going to say you got 42,000 people, 43,000 people out there making 57,000. So as we've gone from Frayser to Raleigh now into Bartlett, the income has increased as well as the rent is about $1,600 a month.
Yep.
You know, there are 10,000 parcels in the zip that are built in 77. So again, if we went from 63 to 73 to 77 as we've moved back east, as the city moved east, and they're 1,775 square foot, built in three twos, built in 1977. So
which is exactly what we're seeing on our data. So that's great. That holds up. Yep. 38134 is great. Anything we find there, you're going to get thumbs up from me if we can make it work from a math standpoint. Okay. Let's see. We've got our next one is 38135. This is another really good zip code in Bartlett. Another area where we're probably not going to find a whole lot of rentals that make sense from a cash flow standpoint. In 2023 in 38135, we had 33 sales. 2,165 was the average square foot. Average sales price was $323,052. Now in 24, we're seeing this trend. We're seeing more sales, about the same square feet, but a little less of a price point. Okay, so that is pretty indicative of our interest rates going up and our pricing having to come down some.
And it's more of an owner-occupant area.
And this is dominated by owner-occupant area. The picture that you can see here is another nice big $300,000 house. I mean, you can kind of get an idea of what the value, property types you're going to get in 38135. Heavy residential, heavy owner occupant. How many people are living out there?
30,000 making $90,000 a year.
Yeah.
So highest income zip code we're talking about, that's $2,500 rent. These houses are built in average 1990, and they're 2,100 square feet, 3 twos, 3 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, big houses, only 11,000 parcels in that zip code. So
yeah, if I sell anything in 38135, it's typically a cash purchase. They would rather have the appreciation, and they're okay with a little less cash flow. So if that's you, these areas 38135 are great, and that house that we're looking at now is just a perfect example of a good $300,000 house in that area.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great pickleball.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
So they're great pickleball out there, and so it's like that says a lot too, right?
That's right. No, you're exactly right. All right, moving right along to Arlington, Tennessee. We'll go quickly here because this is not an enormous rental area. Arlington is a great residential area. It's up Highway 40 a little bit. Good schools. Great owner-occupant area. In 2023, we had 41 sales that averaged just under 2,700 square feet. $469,805 was our average sales price. 2024, same trend, more sales, basically the same square feet, lower sales price. Our interest rate has definitely affected our average sales price over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
So we're definitely seeing some differences. If we can find, again, same model as some of these Bartlett zip codes. If we can find anything in Arlington that makes sense from a cash flow standpoint, I'm all for it. Tell me.
Of course,
about
yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, this is 45,000 people living out in Arlington making $100,000. Mm-hmm. So that's again most income we've seen in a zip code so far. That's a $2,700 rental.
Yep.
And 14,000 parcels out there.
Yep.
Average year built. Kind of looking at that one here, built in 1999.
It
20,
looks like-
2675, so 2,700 square feet for 2.5. So big, nice house, new.
3189 Shadow Green looks like exactly that prototype of a house. 2,600 square feet. Selling for over $400,000. If it only rents for $2,700, it's going to be tough to make that cash flow with a loan. So
Yes, but if you're playing for appreciation, it's a great area, own municipality, own school district, and as you've heard, Blue Oval City is 15 miles from there.
Yes.
So this is where
we're going to see a
there's some
whole lot of
stuff.
growth in the next few years. No,
Yep.
totally agree. Arlington's great. 38106. Cordova is a fantastic investment zip code. Hedge funds dominate this area. I have a few in Cordova if you can find them to make sense. But I bought my first home in Cordova back in 2001. And it was growing even quickly then.
Oh yeah.
Germantown Parkway is the heartbeat of Cordova.
Yep.
All the way from Highway 64/Stage Road, all the way up to Poplar Pike in Germantown.
Yeah.
It runs Germantown Parkway, and you can find anything and everything you need on Germantown Parkway. Every restaurant, doctor's office, shopping center, everything you could possibly want is in Cordova. In 2023 and 38016, there's 2 Cordova zip codes. In 38016 in 2023, we had 65 sales, 2,227 square feet, and the average sales price was $290,592. 2024, got a little bit different trend here. 61 sales, 2,354 square feet, and an average sales price of $295. So the demand in Cordova, as you can see, has grown. And even from 23 to 24, it's grown. We got a little bit higher sales price, and we've got a few less sales. So tenant base in Cordova is fantastic. Typically, you get a dual income in the household. That's important if mom or dad gets laid off or whatever. You got another source of income to pay your rent. U of M grads, a lot out there. Young kids, there's a lot of those. First-time graduates out there. But talk about
you've
some of
got
those
46,000 people living out there making $72,000, which is $2,000 rent.
Yep.
So you're looking at 14,000 parcels built in 1996, kind of like you were talking about when you moved out there. 2,200 square feet in 2.5.
Yeah.
So
and the picture that we're
what
seeing
you're
here is a
looking at.
typical home in Cordova, what you're going to find out there, brick property with 20 years old, average sales, age 25 maybe at the most.
Yeah, super convenient.
That's the name of the game out there. And that's the reason why the tenant base moves out there. It's super convenient. Shoot down Walnut Grove or 40 to get into the city fairly quick. So that's 38016. I'm really fine with 38016. If we can find anything in that area in that market that makes sense, we'll move on that. All right, 38018 Cordova South. Another really popular zip code and area. Basically the same as 38016. I think these are a little newer, or 38016. 38018's a little newer. Is that right? Or 38016 is a little newer?
Slightly. We'll talk about that.
2023, we had 46 sales. 2,084 square feet is our average, and $324,599 was our average sales price. Now in 2024, we've bumped up. We've got 58 sales, 2,100 square feet, and our price went down a little, $309,252. Another, same things I said about Cordova North and 38016, I'm saying about Cordova South. Great area. If we can find something that makes sense. Let's talk about the
as you know, it abuts Germantown, which we'll talk about in a little while.
Yeah.
As far as convenience, super great. There are 38,000 people in 018 making $82,000. So you're talking a $2,200, $2,250 rent. And that's only 12,000 parcels. So a little bit smaller, a little bit newer. They're built in 97. 2,250 square feet and a 3.5. So it's not a huge difference. In square footage, year built.
I cut my teeth in real estate in Cordova. New construction. I started, and it was my very first neighborhood was out in this Cordova area, Berry Hill Farms. If you're familiar with that area, man, people couldn't wait to move out there. I mean, it's crazy. So Cordova's great. Anything we can find there to make sense, I'm all for Cordova. All right, 3138 Germantown, Tennessee, home of the Germantown Red Devils.
There
alma
you go.
mater. Have to say so. They're getting rid of Germantown High School, though. It's pretty terrible. They're going to have one high school, Houston. For all the Houston Mustang fans and graduates out there, I believe they're going to change that to Germantown High School. So whether you like it or not, you guys are going to be Red Devils. Germantown is a residential area. We are not going to see a lot of rentals. There's a whole lot of neighborhoods in Germantown that have adopted a no rental policy. You need to check those neighborhoods carefully. They have done a pretty good job to keep investors out of Germantown, and the math doesn't really make sense. In 2023, we had 21 sales, 2,859 square feet. Average price was $542,438. In 2024, we really popped up. You can tell that the demand in Germantown really went wild. I'm guessing that's some new construction build, if I had to guess. 47 sales, more than doubled. We had 2,700 square feet average, and our sales price went down, $449. So simple supply and demand there. Our prices go down the more opportunities that we had out there. But again, at $500,000, it's going to be tough to make anything make sense from a rental standpoint. Talk about the residents out there.
There are 25,000 people living out there making $122,000.
Yeah.
So I mean that translated to this is if there occasionally property management will do something for somebody out there. Sometimes the accidental landlord wants to sell it wants to rent it because they couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
But that's over $3,000 rental. These are only 8,000 parcels out in Germantown, built in the 80s, 1981, 3,100 square feet, 2.5. So this is a big family home.
Yeah.
So
all owner occupant for the most part.
Owner occupant, Apple stores out there.
Yeah. Our highest end shopping, Saddle Creek Shopping Center's got some of our highest end shopping in the
right in the heart of Germantown.
Right in the heart of Germantown. So great area. 38138 would be someplace if you can make it work. Certainly will. All right, 38139 Germantown East. This is another high-end area. It's going to be very tough to find anything that makes sense here, but let's give you these numbers. 2023, we had 25 sales, just under 4,000 square feet at $667,000. 2024, 27 sales, a little smaller, 3,400 square feet, and we bumped up 700,000. This is a high desirable area, less influenced by the economy and an interest rate. That people want to move here, they can afford to move here. Very few rental opportunities that we're going to find in 38139. Talk about those residents.
You're talking about 16,000 people in $175,000 annual average income. So that's a $5,000 rental.
Yeah.
And 6,000 parcels.
Yeah.
So even fewer than the other part of Germantown. Built in the 90s, 1990, 3,800 square foot, big 4.3s, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, really big homes.
Yeah. Awesome area to live and grow up.
Yeah.
And all of that just might not work as well for our cash flow and our rentals. All right. But we love Germantown. All right. Let's move to Collierville, Tennessee, right east of Germantown. When Germantown began to fill up in the 80s and 90s, they started to develop Collierville. That was a little more of a country feel.
Yep.
It was out there, right? It was way out there. It's not anymore. Collierville has really developed over the last 20 years. In 2023, we had 103 sales in Collierville, 3,085 square feet, $575,261 was our average sales price. Makes perfect sense. In 2024, in July, we had 109 sales, 2,900 square feet, $557,000, a little bit lower average sales price. So again, similar to the 2 Germantown zip codes, we're not going to find much in Collierville that makes sense. Now, if you are that investor that you need to plant some cash, you're okay with a little bit lower return, very good place for that.
Yeah.
High-end tenants, definitely getting dual incomes in the household. School systems are fantastic. Talk about those residents in Collierville.
Collierville's great. 55,000 people making $125,000. So that's a $3,300 rental. 16,000 parcels, 16,000 parcels. Built in 1995 on average.
Yeah.
3,100 square feet, 4.3s. So again, big houses, new houses.
Yeah.
So
Love Collierville.
Hard rental market.
Very hard rental market. Lots of friends out there.
But great rental
but
market.
love Collierville. Yeah. All right. Yeah, great. Yeah. Great rental. If you can find one, it's fantastic. All right, let's move. 38125. We are in southeast Shelby County. You can see on our map. This is where, I mentioned a few zip codes ago that I cut my teeth in new construction in Cordova. after a few months there, we opened up a subdivision 38125 Buckingham Farms, which is probably 1,000 residences in Buckingham Farms. I sold tons of houses there. Lots of FedEx workers in this area, easy access to the interstate. You can get to 385, which isn't shown on our map here, but in between kind of where you're seeing right above 38118 there, that 240 sign, there's an interstate that drops down below there. It's 385. So there's an easy connection from there into the city and into jobs. And then in 38125 in 2023, we had 35 sales. 2,060 square feet was the average at 278,873. Then in 2024, we bumped up a little bit, 41 sales, a little bit larger house, 2,230 square feet, and then 280,000. So I'm going to say this is, 4331 Crimson Leaf Cove. That's a pretty decent example there. We'll see more brick homes in 38125 as well. But that's fairly typical. 2-car garage. Tell me about the residents that live there.
It's 43,000 people living out there, $80,000 median income, $2,200 rental.
Yep.
And it's only 11,000 parcels, built in 1995, 2,300 square feet, 2.5. Mm-hmm. So good size houses, plenty of bedrooms.
What'd you say the rent was? Average rent, what it could be based on money?
2,200.
So see, we're getting closer. The last few zip codes in Cordova and Germantown and Collierville, we have it you can see as we're going geographically, we're going to move west here, but you can see that we're getting a little bit better numbers. 2,200 rental for 278,000 isn't quite the 1%. And it still may be tough to make that math work with a loan, but we're getting better. Right?
Yes.
You're able to park some money there at 38125
and 38125, like part of 38141, which you're about to talk about, is Shelby County tax only. So not City of Memphis tax.
Yeah, there are several little pockets in 125, and in our next zip code, it's only county taxes. That's great. Much better for a rental situation.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move to 38141. Another fantastic area. I've got a couple in 38125 that we just did. 38141, I have several. This is a great little rental area. We're near Winchester, Hickory Hill Drive. And as you can see there on our map, we moved just a little further west. 4378 Sunny Morning Cove. That's a single family attached home. That's a good property for the zip code because there are a lot of neighborhoods that have these single family attached homes. I own several of them. They perform really well. There are a group of tenants in our city that don't want a yard. You can see that, there's not much of a yard there. So very, very solid tenant base. I'm really excited about 38141. In 2023, we had 25 sales, 1,500 square feet, 175,000. In 2024 in July, we had 25 sales, 1,468, basically the same square feet, and just a little uptick in our price. So I don't believe this home here is going to go for 180. This is about a 140 to a 165 type of property, but you're going to see some other single family homes. It's not uncommon to see single family with no garage and no carport. So if you see that in 38141 that I've sent out, don't think that this is a huge red flag. It's pretty typical in that area, and it's not hard to get those homes rented. Let's talk about
there's 23,000 people living there, and they're making $70,000, almost $70,000, and that's about an $1,800 rental. Okay, it's 8,000 parcels in 141, built in 1986.
Yep,
on average, 1,550 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Very typical. I mean, that's exactly what I see there and what I find there. Tenant base is strong. FedEx workers. I mean, you just get a lot of airport workers. So I'm really high on 38141. Anything there we can make sense. I like it.
And not to mention, we'll talk about this in really all these zip codes as we go south on Shelby. This is Shelby County map.
Yep.
As you go south, what you're not really seeing is Olive Branch, South Haven, Horn Lake on this map. So not only can you go north and there into Memphis, but you can go south into Olive Branch and South Haven, and the Goodman Road's got everything.
Yeah, and that's on our the very last area we're going to talk about is Desoto County.
So this is all I was going to say on that is this is super convenient for shopping and all entertainment going south.
That's exactly right, and we see a lot. I live in Desoto County, so we see a whole lot of that. 38141 is great. I'm all for 38141. All right, 38115 Hickory Hill North, right near Winchester Road, which runs kind of right through the county, through the county and through the zip code. I have several rentals in 38115. We've got a single family house here that looks great, pretty typical of what you're going to find in 38115. Mm-hmm. In 2023, we had 23 sales, 1,563 square feet. And at $135,000 was our average sales price. 2024, we dipped just a tad, 21 sales, 1,646 square feet, $137,400 was our average sales price. That seems about right. My tenants in that area are right at that 1% rule, a little bit more. 115 is going to be, as you can see, a little bit further tucked into 240. It's going to be a little bit closer into the city. You might be able to get a little higher rental rate for that convenience. So let's talk about the residents in there.
There are 36,000 people living over there, making $40,000.
Yeah.
So that's a little over $1,000 rental.
Yeah.
So there's only 6,000 parcels. It's one of the smaller zip codes, but they're built in the 70s, 1976.
Yep. Hickory
Hill, and 1,700 square feet, 3 2s.
Pretty typical of what I see there. Yeah, like this house here is brick home. That's exactly what we find in 38115. If you can make anything make sense there, strong tenant base. Again,
Super
those are
convenient.
FedEx employees.
Yep.
Those are even people that work inside the city limits. So great area there. All for 38115.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. 38118. Maybe my favorite zip code. I started off in 38118. It was my second rental I bought was in 38118. I love the location. As you can see, it's just south of 240. The airport kind of rides the line between 38116 and 38118.
Yep.
You're usually going to find one-story homes. They're going to be brick, and they're going to have a little bit larger lot. Or larger land space. So when the city was developed, I believe you're going to say in the 70s, this was developed. The trend was single family ranch style, 1-story homes. So you're going to see way more of those there. They're going to be a lot of brick homes near the airport. Heavy FedEx employee area here because you're literally minutes from the airport. So anything in 38118 I love. In 2023, we had 38 sales, 1,417 square feet. 112,325, and then in 2024, up in all categories, we had 48 sales, 1,440 square feet, and 131,000. Yep. I remember buying even 10 years ago for $70,000. Yep. So these areas have really developed. Let's talk about the tenants in there.
Parkway Village, that's part of what you hear. Some of this called part of the 38118. They're for 40,000, right at 40,000 people. Making a little over 40,000, 42,000. So it's about $1,100 rental, which is about what you see, and 10,000 parcels. And you're right, this was right at the 1967, so right at the turn of the 70s. Yeah. Right there is what the average year built was. And again, as we've seen, as things moved east, as we come back west, they get a little bit older.
Yeah, that's right.
1,400 square feet, so it's a tad bit smaller. It's a 3.1.5. So, but typical of this house right here, exactly what you see in Parkway or Parkway Village, 3811, Oakhaven.
The typical locations where we find these, you have one, is it Comanche? Bowingshire. Arrowhead. Those are some great single, as you can see in this picture here, single family, ranch style, 1-level brick house, a little bit larger lot. That's a pretty typical home in 38118. I'll tell you this, I'll take as many as I can get. I can't tell you enough good things about 38118. I just have had a lot of success there. So I would encourage you to make that one of your focuses on zip codes. I love 38118.
Yep.
Anything else there?
Yeah.
All right, 38116, Whitehaven, home of Elvis Presley. The city, one of our first higher end Suburbans that was developed in the 70s. Obviously, Elvis wanted to live down there. Elvis Presley Boulevard runs north and south, basically in the heart of Whitehaven. Mm-hmm. Whitehaven High School has been a staple in that community for years and years and years. A great athletic program. I mean, it's been a real strong
civic pride.
Yeah, that's right. Pride in that community there. They just recently put a Starbucks right in the middle of Whitehaven, Shelby Drive, and Elvis Presley Boulevard.
EP.
So there's another. I use that example up in Raleigh.
Yep.
So if Starbucks thinks that there's foot traffic and people to pay that, then those are our tenants. I really enjoy Whitehaven. I like the tenant base there. They want to be in Whitehaven. We mentioned it just a second ago, that pride of community and sense of pride there in Whitehaven is really strong. In 2023, we had 19 sales, 1,640 square feet at $100,754. In 2024, July, we had 40 sales, 1,649 and 148,000 was our average price. Whatever happened in 2024 July, Whitehaven, I mean, to me, it's, that sounds like maybe there's some new construction opportunities that maybe they've built in Whitehaven. The demand has just gotten that farther north in Whitehaven. I have several in 38116, and I would take as many as I can get. Talk about those tenants.
Whitehaven's great for all the reasons you mentioned, especially Graceland.
Yeah.
Elvis, it's Elvis week this week, by the way.
Is it this week?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Vigil is tomorrow night.
What time are we meeting?
8:30. Till everybody else goes through.
I've been.
Good.
Have you been?
Yes, I'm going. I'm going.
Oh, you really are?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There are 40,000 people in Whitehaven making $42,000. So that's about $1,100 rental.
Yeah.
Now, where it's only 9,000 parcels. And so, again, as we're coming back now, you're talking 1963 because, as you said, the city developed south as well as north. Before it moved out east, our city went north and south.
Great point. If you look on our map, 38116 and then 38127, you can see just if they're north and south. And as the city developed in the 60s, they developed a little bit up north and a little bit down south. I believe our south was our higher end suburban, bigger homes. And then up north was a little bit more of our blue collar, a little bit more economical living as we went along. And you can see.
And you can see they were built, they're 1,800 square feet, 3 twos. And, just kind of flash back to Frayser, what you said, they were 13 3-1s.
So see, they were catering to different classes of people and economic differences of people, and it was south. And you can see when you go into Whitehaven and you start looking at the homes, there's plenty of 3,000 square foot homes.
Really, man,
that you can get in Whitehaven.
Around Graceland is great. I mean, there are a lot of really nice homes. And again, we mentioned especially with 55 going right through there, I-55 going south, that's into North Mississippi. You can be in Hernando, you can be in South Haven, you can be. Yeah, there's a lot
going on. Just head down 55, so 51.
It's a great location. 116 is a super convenient location.
Yes,
for
which
renters,
is
for
which is why it works so well for our tenant base and for an investor standpoint. 38119, great looking house, 6727 Stout Road. That is a typical 38119 property. Anything that you can find in Ridgeway in that area is going to be an ideal rental. In 2023, we had 40 sales, 2,337 square feet, and $327,923 was our average sales price. 2024, we took a dip in 38119. There's not as many houses there. I mean, you can see geographically, it's one of our smaller, kind of slender zip codes there, but 25 sales in 2024, July, 2,559 square feet, but our price went up to 386. So with the fewer sales, the demand was higher, and we just didn't have as many opportunities. There's no opportunity for new construction in 38119. It's developed, so it makes a little bit of sense there that those values went up a little bit. Talk about those tenants.
Yeah, Ridgeway Balmoral is another name for it. You'll hear there are, about 20,000 folks there, pushing 30,000, and they're making $92,000.
Yeah.
So $2,500 rent. So pretty typical. 6,000 parcels, like you mentioned, not very few, and they're built in the 1970s. 1975, 2,500 square feet, 4 twos. So big family homes back in the day that have now, as it moved east. Yeah. But there's still a lot. It's hard to make rentals. I've got one there.
I do not have one in 119.
It's really tough.
Ridgeway High School, MUS in Hutchinson. Ridgeway runs right up to Poplar and Park Avenue. All kinds of shopping. Quince. All kinds of shopping and residential areas over there. So 38119 is great if we can find something to make sense from a cash flow standpoint. Yeah. 38117 is going to be our next area. This is probably, in my mind, these prices are a little higher than some of the areas. That Capri 1737 Capri Road, that's probably a $200,000 to $250,000 house. You will see some higher value homes in 38117, but I want to focus on Colonial Acres.
Yes.
I want to focus on just south of Park, in between, 240 there, just north of the interstate, the yellow portion there. Those areas of 38117 are going to be some areas that you can invest in. I want to speak carefully about this because I'm going to give you the stats of this area, but it's not necessarily an indicator of an investor world.
No opportunity.
Yeah, this is going to read no opportunity, but I'm here to tell you that there is some.
Yeah.
In 2023, we had 59 sales, 2,299 square feet, 456, 488. 2024, we had 66 sales, a little smaller square feet and a little bit lower price, 353,000. So took a definite dip in price in 2024 July versus 2023. To me, that just the interest rate affects all of that. It means the homes that are a little further south are going to, in 38117, are going to be more desirable. You can get into, I know you've got, I think I have two over there. Park, you correct me if I'm wrong, coming down Park from Ridgeway, as soon as you cross over into the zip code, you're going to hit White Station, Mendenhall, Perkins.
Colonial Perkins
area.
Yeah.
From that area, Park, all the way down to kind of that Target Colonial Lake.
Colonial Target.
Yeah, what's Harding at? What street is Harding?
Cherry.
So in Cherry, you get down to Cherry, all right, and then you go south.
Yeah.
All of that area is, maybe
to 240. It's great.
Maybe the best rental area in the city for value of what you're getting. The price for the tenant. My two over there, I hear nothing.
Yeah.
I hear nothing. I get rent on time. I get the houses are in great shape. So I'm really big on 38117. Don't let these numbers skew your opinion on what you can do in 38117. You can find a cash flowing rental. You can find flips down in the bottom of 38117.
Sure.
I'd look for one now. So really, really high on that 38117 zip code. U of M grads, Rhodes graduates, a lot of people want to live right in that area. We'll talk about 38122, but their parents probably live in 38122. Right? So they want to live in 38117. It's just kind of that first step out of college. So talk about the tenant base.
It's great. Super. Again, you can see right in the middle of the city. As far as the county goes, it's like right in the heart of the county. 25,000 people making $90,000, so that's a $2,500 rental.
Yeah.
11,000 parcels, 1959.
Yep.
So again, the city was, as it was moving north and south, and it was starting to move east.
That's right.
So 1959, 2,100 square feet, 3.2.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this area, and that house on Capri there is about what you're looking at for that $250,000 price range that will rent for that 2,500 mark. You can get the 1% there, so don't let these numbers kind of fool you on what you can do.
You could also buy $1 million house and live there.
You certainly can.
That. So that's skewing the numbers.
That's exactly That's exactly right. All right, let's keep moving. 38109. All right, so part of three. This is a good home. 4139 War Bonnet. If I'm being perfectly honest, that's my house. That's one of the rentals in 38109. That is a typical home that you're going to see there. Brick. I don't think I put a roof on there, but we did some upgrading on the inside. That chain link fence is actually something that you see a lot at 38109. So let's talk about some numbers there. In 2023. We had 61 sales, 1,300 square feet, average price of $110,000. In 2024, 66 sales, 1,290 square feet, $100,000, 844. Part of my pitch when I talk about 38109, very similar to 38127.
Yep.
So follow me here.
Yeah, I'm with you.
In 38127, I talked earlier, you don't want to buy anything that is west of Highway 51. In 38109, as you can see, because it rubs up on the river, just like 38127, you do not, in my opinion, want to be in anything that is west of Highway 61, okay? West of 51 in Frayser, west of Highway 61 in 38109, I typically think are no-nos. Now, Coral Lake, that's good. That's west of Highway 61. If you can find a home in Coral Lake that works for you, I would say, hey, that will work out. If you look on the eastern part of 38109, it's going to ride right up Highway 61. The eastern part of Highway 61, a lot of it is considered Whitehaven still. Not right up on it, but as you move over into the eastern part of 38109, it's still considered Whitehaven. I've got 7 right there, 6 right there.
Yeah.
Great tenant base. They all look about like this one on Warbonnet. Talk about those tenants.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see that's a big zip code. So you got 45,000 people making $35,000 median income, which is only a $960 rental. So pushing $1,000 at 16,000 parcels, which is it's about as big as parcels as any zip code has.
Yeah.
So 1965. They were 1,300, 3.5.
What'd you say the average rent was?
About 950, 963.
More bonnets occupied at 950.
Yeah,
Makes perfect sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
The only thing I caution or just bring to your attention, maybe is a better word, bring to your attention that there is a sliver of 38109 you can see that's in what we would call South Memphis.
Yeah.
So it's part of it's down in Whitehaven or in kind of that south west Shelby County, but then there's a little sliver that gets up there that's also it's kind of South Memphis.
It can be kind of tough. All right, let's move 38109 again. I'm up for that if you can find it and make it work. 38106. All right. Now, there are 3 zip codes that I'll discuss with you that I don't, feel free to have a little bit different opinion on this. I know everybody does.
I get a little different
I
opinion.
personally say no to everything in 38106. I don't care where it's at. It doesn't necessarily matter to me. There's been, I will say this. I used to not say this, so I'll preface this here. There is some new construction in 38106. If you can find that and have it make sense from a rental standpoint, that's great. Here's what I caution on that. Because the whole area isn't full of that, if you buy a new construction home, in my opinion, in this area, I think it's going to be a good, solid rental property for you for the first few years. My concern is going to be that it becomes the overwhelming lower end of the zip code is going to consume it. Unless they can come in and really start developing and really go, so which one takes over? I personally don't like to get involved in which one takes over. So if you want to take a little bit of a chance to get a newer home in an area that might be a little bit more challenging, I think you could make that work. I personally, if you ask me and you get on the phone with me and you're my client and you say, hey, should I buy anything there? I'm going to tell you no. I just feel like there's other areas to where we could go spend the price that we're going to talk about maybe and find a home that's there. This home on Humber Street is about what you find, 1579 Humber Street. 2023, we had 25 sales, 1,187 square feet, 56,269. 2024, we had 25 sales, a little bit larger square feet, and our price went up a little bit. If the low entry barrier is there, so if you're trying to cut your teeth in investing and you're very limited, let's look for something in this area that could possibly work for you. But I proceed with caution.
Right,
Talk about those tenants.
Proceed with caution is great. It's South Memphis. It's hustle and flow. Like when you think of hustle and flow in South Memphis, this is kind of where you think of it.
That's where they filmed it.
Where they filmed it. There are 23,000 people. Median income is $29,000, so that's the lowest income we've talked about so far. That's an $800 rental.
Yeah, and
there are only 8,000 parcels built in 1946, which probably looks a little bit like that, maybe a little older.
Yeah,
1,200 square feet, 3 ones. So smaller houses, a little more economically challenged. No people who make it work. So but it's I think you said it best. There are other opportunities that are
I just
available to pursue.
That's all. That's my word. Is like, hey, there's maybe some other opportunities for us out there.
Yeah.
All right, keep moving here. We've got 38126. That's not the greatest picture, but that's unfortunately you see a lot of that in 38126, 497 Walker, a boarded up home. That's fairly typical. Unfortunately, 38126 is our toughest zip code. I won't advise you to buy anything here. In 2023, we had 6 sales, 2,000 square feet at 64,000. We didn't have anything sell in 2024 in July there. So if there's other areas.
Yeah, and you can talk, and you probably see this more, but south of the FedEx Forum, there's a little bit happening there. In the northern part of 38126, but it didn't sound like anything happened in July. There's only 6,000 people in that. It's a small little sliver zip code. You said $20,000 is the median income, so that's even less than we just talked about. That's a $550 rental.
Yeah.
So 1,000 parcels. That's the smallest parcel count. Built in 1960. 1,500 square feet, 3 1.5. So there's not a lot of parcels there. I mean, it's not a lot of opportunity to invest in that area with only 1,000 parcels.
Yeah, very limited.
Very, very limited.
It's
so
one of the three that I say to stay away from.
Yeah, just not a lot of opportunity.
That's right. All right, let's keep moving. 38111. Now, this is our biggest zip code from a housing standpoint. There's more residents, I believe, you're correct me if I'm wrong, there's more parcels and houses in 38111 than any of our other zip codes. It's also our widest price range zip code. You can get something very cheap, and you're over $1 million if you wanted to in 38111. University of Memphis is located in 38111. Park Avenue runs right through the middle of it. Highland, right up through there. Parts of Poplar are in there. I mean, it's just a really big area with a lot of investment opportunity. So 2023, we had 70 sales. No surprise there. It's our largest one. We had 1,680 square feet and 266,909. 2024, we had 79 sales, 1,420 square feet, 202 was our average sales price. Now, let's talk about that. Very similar to 38117.
Yeah.
Don't let these numbers confuse you.
Yeah.
Because we have such a high-end area of 38111 as well, it's pulling these average numbers up.
Yeah.
We're into, I own, where's my street name over there? Oh my gosh. Carson. I've got one on Carson.
Yeah.
There's several areas there where I don't, Standard, I got one on Standard. So 38111, you can find that $80,000 to $175,000 price range rental property that is going to serve you really well. We send them out daily. There's not very many days that I don't have a property in 38111 that I can send out for you guys. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, 38111. Here it is. 40,000 people, 42,000, making $50,000. So that's a $1,300 rental, $1,375.
Yeah.
13,000 parcels. So like you said, huge zip code for us. 1950. 1949 is the year built.
Development.
And you've seen that. 1,575 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms.
Yeah. Lots of nice opportunities in 111 for residents, for investors.
Oh, yeah.
It's just our most diverse zip code when it comes to owner occupants and investors.
I had a family member who just got started in the past year. The first house they bought was in 38111.
There you go. Yeah. Anything
and
you
it rents for $1,500. And this is, we'd said 1,375, so 1,500. So just right at it.
I wouldn't use the phrase if you find anything that works there, because there are so many wide ranges, but let's definitely talk. Anything I send you out there is going to be a property that I've already approved. All right. 38111. Great zip code. Love it. Let's keep moving. 38112. Rhodes College area. Very typical house here. 734 Spring Street is a prototypical, property that you see in 38112 by Rhodes. In 2023, we had 20 sales. 1,412 square feet, 193,000. 2024, 24 sales, a little bit larger, 1,700, and we went up a little bit on price, 205. I have a large footprint in the Rhodes area. The Rhodes students are great. If you can find houses over there, the values on those houses are going up.
Yeah.
It's harder and harder to find properties over by Rhodes, but I will tell you, if you can get anything over there, tenant base is strong, centrally located, as you can see, right there in the middle of the heart of the city, actually. So talk about those residents.
I mean, you mentioned Rhodes College. There's also Crosstown, which is the big redeveloped Sears distribution center that is super cool. I mean, people from all over the country, no matter what city you live, you come and you see it and you're like, well, this is really cool.
That's right.
So that's another big draw there. Population, 16,000 people, making $50,000. $1,300 rentals, $1,350, 5,000 parcels, so a little smaller.
Yep.
1940. So this, it's an older part of town. I think I've said it before, but my wife's she lived right there.
Okay.
Her first house,
Okay.
which was her grandmother's house.
Okay.
So,
so it's been there.
So it's been there a while.
Right.
1940, 1,600 square feet, 1.5.
Yeah. And to touch on that crosstown a little bit, it's kind of the heartbeat of that area.
Yeah.
Restaurants, they got their own high school.
Yep.
They have a pharmacy and dry cleaners. It's a community. You can live in there and never leave. It's really something cool that they've done in that area.
Yeah, it's worth checking out if you don't know
Absolutely.
anything about it.
All right, 38112. I love it. Rhodes College area. If you can find something there, let's have it make sense. 38114. This is the last of my 3 zip codes that I don't prefer, that I actually tell you not to buy in. This is Orange Mound. A little bit higher. Memphis is high crime, but this is a little bit higher than high crime. It's just a little bit tougher area. We're looking at a duplex on Oak Lawn that's been fully rehabbed. I wanted to give you a little bit of positivity for Orange Mound. I will say, of the 3, in my opinion, if you came to me with a property in 38114 and you tried to sell it to me and it made sense, maybe this duplex, for example, that's in great shape, I could listen to you and talk with you. I've lightened up on it over the years, but it's still one that I'm just going to say no to in general. In 2023, we had 30 sales, 1,278 square feet, 79,187. And then in 2024, in July, we had 37 sales, 1,185 square feet, and 102,000. So again, there's been some gentrification in the area. You can tell by the sales price averages are moving up a little bit. They're doing some building and some rehabs. There's where I think that's where I know that's where it's coming from. It's an opportunity where you can go in and buy a home and flip it over to another investor or flip it over to an owner occupant.
That's a good point.
So that's probably what we're seeing,
Yep.
the jump from 23 to 24. Not as many investors can buy a home and have it cash flow, but a lot of people can buy a home and flip it. So we're probably seeing some flipping in 38114 from those numbers. Yeah. Again, you're going to tell us about the tenant base, but I'm still voting no on 38114.
Yeah, and I'll comment two comments on that. Is that you see a lot of local investors who are successful in 114. Also, 106 maybe a little bit in 126, just not as much opportunity in some of those areas that you've talked about are more challenging. And so one of our sponsors, Coreland,
Yep.
Coreland have seen Coreland flipping, people flipping houses in those or buying and holding, self-managing themselves here in town. So so when we talk about 38114, Orange Mound, a lot of civic pride. Historic community, Melrose High School. So a lot. There's again good stuff happening there. Kind of like this duplex you see. 20,000 people making $30,000.
Yeah,
that's an $800 rental.
Yeah.
8,000 parcels built in 1946. So some of our older housing stock, 1,300 square feet, so a little bit smaller. Some are on the smallest side of zip code, and it's a 3.1.5.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
Everything you spoke to.
All right. 3120 River Oaks area, right in the middle of our city, right outside of the 240 loop. I believe I'm going to say this is 60s and 70s, and this was a far out east. Back then, you probably lived way out east in 38120. Very nice area. High-end residential owner-occupant. If you heard me earlier say that the folks that are moving into 38117, their parents probably live in 38120 or they grew up in 120. Very, very nice area. Ridgeway, Poplar, Fred Smith lives in 38120. So you've got some very, very high-end net worth there. A lot of our Grizzlies players live in 38120. So let's talk about those numbers. In 2023, we had 19 sales, 3,200 square feet average at $635,000. 2024, we had 32 sales, 2,700 square feet, and we're dropping almost $200,000. The only thing that could explain that would be there's some construction, some development there that is a lower end that's bringing that down. I don't know where in 38120 right this second you could get a house for $463 that you'd want to live in. So what I'm imagining is there's been some lower end construction come in of some kind of development that sold that skewed these numbers from one year to the other. It's going to be very difficult to find a rental in 38120. that's going to make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, my comment's upscale. I mean, that's all it is. Nice as you can get. You're talking 13,000 people, so not many making $120,000, $3,000 rental. So only 5,000 parcels built in the 70s.
Yeah,
you mentioned 1974. 3,200 square feet, 4 threes, big homes.
Yeah, love it. Love this area. This home that you see here is a perfect example of a $500,000 home that's in this area. It's just tough to make any sense. So, love 38120 River Oaks. If you can find it, let's do it. Mm-hmm. All right, next zip code we're going to move to is 38122 Berclair. Give it up for the CrestCore office here in 38122. That's a Fairmont. That's a fairly typical home that we see in 38122. You do have a mixture of siding and brick homes in 38122. 38122 is also the only area I will personally buy a 2-bedroom home.
Okay.
I have several over there. In 2023, we had 38 sales. 1,496 was the average square feet, and 159,813. 2024 of July, we had 46 sales, 1,200 square feet, 142,000. So we dipped in square feet and dipped in price. Not surprising to me with our interest rates higher, fewer sales, or actually more sales, a little bit lower price point. I have the most homes that I own in 38122. I believe same for you. Strong Hispanic community, very high pride of community and ownership, and I guess just if you don't own and you rent, just your community. But Hispanic grocery stores, and it's really accommodating for the community. I enjoy going over there. They just shut Jerry's Snow Cones down, but I've been going over there for years to get the snow cones with the kids. So 38122 Berclair, I'm all for it. Anything you can find there that makes sense, I would buy. I'd still buy today. Talk about those tenants.
I think the only another thing I would mention, which you had said about Raleigh specifically, and maybe somewhere else, was Chick-fil-A recently moved in, Starbucks recently moved in, Chipotle recently moved in, Planet Fitness. I mean, so
just literally a block and a half. All those you mentioned are a block and a half.
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A, Starbucks is right down there. Chipotle. What else have they put? That Planet Fitness.
I mean, all just in this again, telling you about the tenants and the people who live in this neighborhood. There are 25,000 people making $45,000, which is about a $1,200 rental. About what we see. 9,000 parcels built 1949.
Yep.
And that pencils out to those were 1949 were 1,250 square feet, 3 ones.
Yeah.
So
pretty typical.
Pretty typical what you see. Probably that one on Fairmont might be a little smaller than 1,250, but that's pretty typical what you see over there. Yeah, really enjoy Berclair. Anything you can find over there. We send a lot of houses out in Berclair. They have a duplex presence in Berclair too that you can find. So love Berclair. All right, 38108 Jackson Farmville. We're going to be limited here. I have 2, 3 in 38108, but they are on the southernmost part of 38108. The further north you go in that little thin zip code, the worse it gets. We got a duplex here on Fairfax. That's pretty typical. Usually you see some lawn care better than that, but that's pretty typical of what you see in that Jackson Farmville area. In 2023, we had 23 sales, 1,148 square feet, 73,535. Then in 2024 of July, we had 32 sales, 1,042 square feet, and 85,000. Again, if one of the worst intersections to me from a crime standpoint and a violence standpoint is Hollywood and Chelsea. And that's right in the middle of this area. I have to admit, I avoid that drive. It's tough. You go to that intersection right there and you're looking one way or the other, man. And it can be tough. So I would use extreme caution in 38108. I'm not going to say you can't find anything in there. The most southern part of 38108 would be where I would focus on. Talk about those tenants. Yeah. There's a lot of old industry on Jackson. Yeah. And Chelsea too. So Chelsea's got a lot of old shut down industry. That's what. Old industry. When I mean old, I mean like it was there long ago. Yeah, and it's just not. It's vacant or just or population is only 17,000 people in 38108. Small zip code. $30,000, $800 rental. 6,000 parcels. Built 1951. 1,100 square feet, 2 ones. Yeah. So that's about as small as we've seen. Square footage and bedroom bathroom count. So it's just it's like again, your other opportunities, bigger homes, 2-1s, you talked about it. 2-1s can be challenging because you're limited to your renter pool.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a 3-2, you just got a lot more people who can potentially rent that. So
yeah, just a challenge. Proceed with caution. I don't say no. I just say kind of proceed with caution on there. All right, 38107. 38107, North Memphis. I'm okay with 38107 on this eastern part. The western part gets a little dry to me, dry in the sense of just no opportunities really. Tenant basis gets a little tough as you get close to the river. In 2000, that's a typical home there, 1144 West Lexington Circle. That's what you'll find up there. It doesn't look too bad. Maybe they didn't finish cutting the grass there. 2023, we had 25 sales, 1492 square feet, 161,000. 2024, we had 29 sales, 1424, average 129,670. So again, as you can see by those numbers, on the eastern part of 38107, you can get some sales. I guarantee you that's what's driving those values and that price up. I'm not going to tell you no. Correct me if I'm wrong, is Le Bonheur and all of that in 38107, or is it a little further south of there? I think it's a little further south.
I would think it's further south.
Yeah. So I'm 50-50 on 38107 if you can find something. What about those tenants there?
107, yeah. 15,000 people making $34,000, which is a $950 rental.
Yeah.
5,000 parcels built 1944.
Yeah.
So pretty old as far as a zip code goes. What we've looked at, 1,400 square feet, 1.5.
Yeah.
Smoky City, Klondike. They're redeveloping North Side right there on.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Valentine. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
With it.
I'm 50-50. If you find something there, let's just look at it and let's find out what it is. But there's 38107 North Memphis. All right, 38104 Midtown. If you want an Airbnb, you need to buy it here. This is basically the only area I believe that an Airbnb is going to be fruitful for a long period of time. You have our hipsters and all of our Midtown folks are there. Lots of like older antique places and restaurants and just your typical Midtown 100-year-old homes that we're going to learn here in a minute. 2023, we had 39 sales at 2,350 square feet. 400,000 was our price. 2024 July, we had 31 sales, 2,157 square feet, 408,000. It's not impossible to make a rental work in Midtown, but it is tougher.
Yeah.
I also caution everybody. I mentioned it a second ago, but they're 100-year-old homes. You're going to have more maintenance than you would somewhere else. But if you come in, I've seen guys come in and do an Airbnb. They'll remodel the entire thing. They don't have a whole lot of maintenance, and that is the most desirable area for an Airbnb. You can see why. It's near everything. What about that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's a medical district up in there.
Yeah.
The University of Tennessee Medical School is there. There's hospitals there. There's a lot in Midtown, close to downtown. So you're right. 23,000 people making $53,000, which is a $1,500 rental.
Yeah.
And that's 5,000 parcels built in 1928, which I believe is the oldest we've seen, which makes sense because, again, we're just talking downtown. Then the city moved east, north and south. Then it just kept moving east.
Yeah.
2,000 square feet, 2,150 is the square footage. So pretty big 3.2s.
Yeah.
Again, to be 1928. So these were big houses, which is why it's held a lot of value.
Yeah.
And,
huge homes.
Yeah.
It's just it's tough to make a regular rental work. You can get some multifamily there. You'll see a quad and a triplex. You'll see some different opportunities in Midtown though. So I'm good on Midtown investment. If we can find it, it makes sense. I'm strong on Midtown. All right, let's go downtown. 38103. You can see it there, very tiny on our map. Great picture there of AutoZone Park. This is our downtown. 38103, 2023 of July, we had 28 sales, 1,461 square feet. Average sales price is $362. 2024 in July, we had 17 sales, 1,726 and $382. Opportunities went down, demand stays up high. You've got all the riverfront properties. You've got condos galore. You've got a lot of the townhouses looking builds down there. So I do not own any rentals downtown. You might. It's very hard to make those make sense. And honestly, a tenant base isn't super thrilled to live downtown unless you just work downtown.
Yeah.
Where our downtown is not in the middle of the city.
No.
Where it's in the corner and everything spreads out. So unless you're working downtown or working in Midtown, living and renting downtown is likely not an option for you.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You just look across that picture, and over there in Arkansas is all farmland.
It's it.
So there's not a lot on the other side,
No.
other than the casino.
That's right.
That's what. Let's talk about that some other time. West Memphis, because downtown. The only other thing I'd mention maybe is potentially an Airbnb.
Could.
Kind of one of those condos. So for tourists and
FedEx
events that
Forum,
happen. Yeah. I mean,
Grizzlies and concerts.
It's a cool downtown, and they're always trying to do more stuff downtown.
That's right.
There are 13,000, 14,000 people living down there making $90,000, which is a $2,500 rental.
Yeah.
But they're only 2,000 parcels.
Yep.
So again, not a lot of opportunity. Built in 2000. We're talking residential parcels. So built in 2000, 1,600 square feet, 2.5.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be tough, but Airbnb will work there.
Yeah.
So
if you can opportunities.
Yeah. More of a pleasure live and rent.
Come visit, man.
I'll come visit and stay down there, but I don't know that it necessarily works out for rental property. No. All right, let's keep moving. We've got a few more here. 38105. Greenlaw area. This is a typical home you might see in Greenlaw. It's very small. We included it. I don't own anything in Greenlaw, and I very rarely send anything out in this area. But in July of 2023, we had 8 sales, 1,484 square feet, 150,000 basically. 2024, we had 3 sales, 1,244 and 156. We included it because it's close, and you could find something in there. Talk about those tenants.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on the edge. It's transitioned. There's just not a lot of parcels, which is why they're not sales. It kind of reminds you of 38126. There's just not a lot of opportunity. In fact, there's 1,000 parcels in 126. There are 1,000 parcels in 105. So excuse me, 500 parcels in 105. There's even less. Yeah, there's even less. 5,000 people making $26,000. That's a $725 rental. Only 5,000 parcels built in 1947. 1,500 square feet, 1.5. So we don't talk about it a lot. You don't see it a lot because there's not a lot of opportunity. There's not a lot.
No. All right, we'll keep moving. All right, Millington, Tipton. That is a typical house in Millington, Tennessee. 5819 Garden Ridge, naval base. Huge naval presence in Millington. I know you have a lot of success in Millington. The tenant base is super strong up there, but its own school system, its own municipality. But Millington is great. High desirable residential area. 2023 in July, we had 26 sales in Millington, 1,569 square feet, average price $230,000. 2024, July of 2024, we had 30 sales, 1,435 square feet, and $228,000 was our price. Very typical of what we're seeing right here. Solid rental community. If you can find anything that works in Millington, let's get it.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, there you go.
From Millington.
Yep.
So
he brought sexy back.
He did. This is the suburbs, really suburbs. This is kind of again north. You can see how far north. It's kind of what Millington and Collierville were about the same.
Yep.
But it stopped growing north and everything started growing east, which is why Collierville became Collierville. And Millington's still a little bit out. You kind of leave the city before you get back into the city.
That's right.
So it feels like you're different. There are 25,000 people making $57,000. That's about a $1,500 rental. Yep. 8,000 parcels, 1978 year built, 1,800 square feet, 3 2s.
Yeah, I enjoy Millington. I don't have any issue with that at all. If a lot of people live there and drive into the city, so don't think it's too far out. Millington's a great place to invest.
Yeah.
All right. Last one, DeSoto County. We will talk briefly DeSoto County. This is Southaven Circle West. That's not bad. So let's talk about the 2 areas. I'll get Alec, our producer, to put 3 pictures up from the 3 different areas. 8468 Southaven Circle West. I own a couple in that. I actually have one on Southaven Circle. Great area to invest in. Let's talk about it real quick. Geographically, you can see it there. It's good. Far east is Olive Branch. It's going to be very difficult to find anything to rent in Olive Branch. It's probably going to see that $400,000 price range. Good school zone. I live near there. Lewisburg, Olive Branch high schools are both great schools. It's just going to be tough to find anything in Olive Branch. Okay. You move over to South Haven, and South Haven is going to be a little tricky. Some of South Haven is not going to work because the price ranges are too high.
Yeah.
But this part of South Haven, as you get closer to Highway 55 and move closer towards the state line, you're going to see some really good opportunities. I wish I could have 100 houses right over there by that South Haven Circle area. Those tenants are strong. They pay their rent. It's a blue-collar area. Those folks who either work at the airport, they work in off Shelby Drive and some of our logistics companies. But I really enjoy that South Haven Circle vicinity right there. And then as you keep going, Horn Lake is being recognized nationally as one of the fastest and best growing cities in the country. I got a funny story about Horn Lake to give you an idea from an investor standpoint. I was working for another agent 2010, 11, 12, right before I came here. He handed me some investors over there, and he's like, "Hey, man, you just go work with these guys. They're looking for some lower end stuff." And I would get on the MLS, and I'd search 0 to 50,000 in Twin Lakes and in Desoto Village.
Yes, DeSoto
right?
Village.
There'd be anywhere from, this was in 2011, there'd be anywhere from 20 to 40 houses pop up. 3 1s, 3 2s, brick. They might need 20 grand in work, but they would all rent then for $850. I didn't have my head on right to go buy every single one of them. Now, those homes in Twin Lakes and DeSoto Village are worth about 140. Renting for 12 to 1,400. Yeah. They're all brick. They're all, so Horn Lake has really developed and grown. They are, speaking of, they're putting Chick-fil-A's and Starbucks and all that in the Horn Lake area. So if we can find anything in Twin Lakes, DeSoto Village, I just sent out a 6-house package this week. Shameless plug. Yeah. Of 6 in that area. So I am super, super excited about Horn Lake, that certain part of South Haven. I think you can find some good rental properties there in DeSoto County.
Yeah, I mean, this is the SIP, right? This is the top of Mississippi, as they say. I mean, it's a lot there. Be careful of the landlord laws. Yeah. In Horn Lake,
they charge you now.
So just be careful. You can get some in Horn Lake, some in South Haven. So they're different cities, different municipalities. Good stuff.
Horn Lake's trying to shut down the investor part.
Yeah, it's a non-disclosure state, so there's not as much information here as far as
details on
properties and pricing and such. Yeah. But we're part of the MLS, so we've got access to that. So we can help you on specific deals. Yeah. Property management managers there, Cortland, Lynn's there. Yeah. All of the folks who are sponsors, Triumph does work there. Yes. Will Griffin, Local Title, they'll close there. So that's not a problem. No. And again, as we talked about the southern Shelby County, you can see from the map now that you've got the Mississippi highlighted, those 3 towns, Horn Lake, South Haven, and Olive Branch, are close to a lot of those zip codes in Shelby County, which makes those Shelby County zip codes really attractive as well.
Big time.
So
big time.
Love DeSoto County if you can find the right opportunity. Woo! We did it.
We did it. For those of you who stuck around and listened to this entire thing, it sounds like we went 90 minutes. So I appreciate you guys listening and tuning in. This is one of you and I get the biggest kick out of doing this one. Man. But we have more requests for this podcast. Yes. We have more people that want to hear this information. So happy to bring it to you. Dean@CrestCore.com. We're going to split these up, send them out individually if you want them. If you have any questions about what we talked about, I can give you all this information. ChandlerReports.com is so good to us. They provided this information to us. So anything that I can do, that we can do, please shoot us an email, Dean@CrestCore.com. I'll be happy to help you. We're going to go lay down and take a nap now. We'll see you next time. Thank you.